will please rise and join me in pledge
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Please call the roll.
Bullard,
Here.
O'Brien,
Here.
Trail, here.
Okay, that gets us to public comment. See here. That gets us to public comment. Do you have any public comment at this point?
I have a question. I'm on the agenda later. Will I be allowed to speak at that point, or is that a closed session? Okay. Thank you.
Hearing none, we're going to move forward. Trade Bell Energy, Electric and Gas Aggregation.
Thanks for allowing me to come back.
Good to see you all. Pass this out. Thank you. You're very welcome. Sure. You're welcome. Should I copy as well?
Yeah, thank you.
Would you like me to stand?
Pardon?
Would you like me to stand? Sit? Sit, because I got a couple of things to juggle here, so.
Whatever you're comfortable with, we're not a whole lot of people, so I think we're okay.
Okay, great.
Make it loud enough so that, are you picking her up okay? With,
I hope so. She talks pretty loud.
Yeah, I'll project, no problem.
because we all got
Sure.
speakers.
Okay, so wanted to take the opportunity to come back and talk in more detail about your electric, natural gas aggregation programs. Just give an overview of where they're at now, where the market opportunity is for extensions of both of those agreements, and talk a little bit about where the market is at generally. So we could start with the electric, well, start with one of the most important parts here. The 2023 savings was $632,000, $76,300 to $749,080. So that was for both electric and gas combined. For the electric aggregation, as we had spoken about last time around, your current price is $0.489 per kilowatt hour. That is lower than the current price to compare from AEP Ohio, which is 0.1132. However, as mentioned, this is higher than what current market is. At the point in time that this was put into place, the township had gone back on the utility because the utility price to compare was very, very attractive. But we knew that coming in June of 23, it would go up incredibly. So while the market was not in a good place, it was either contract in a high market time or do nothing and know that your residents are going to pay more. So even at this elevated 849, it is still a discount to the price to compare. However, since the market is lower, there's an opportunity to do what is called a blend and extend, which essentially blends in the current market opportunity now through the remainder of the existing agreement and then extends the contract out.
Mm-hmm.
So I brought two prices to discuss. One is that blend and extend rate, which is at 6691. So that's 21% lower than your current price of 849. And you can see significantly lower than the 11.32 cents that the utility price to compare is. If you were to wait, pay this higher rate for the next couple of months and just do the extension, the price is slightly lower. It's at 6479, so it's 23% from your current price. However, the way that the math works out, and I did take into consideration the seasonal usage that we talked about last time around, the savings per month for those 2 months that you pick up on the blend is $17.10 per average household. That's considering April and May typical usage. If you were to wait and take that slightly lower price, the difference there is $1.85 per month, and that total savings for the next year is $22.26. So you can see in those 2 months alone, you have a $34 savings for your residents versus taking a slightly lower price over the course of that next year's $22. So my suggestion would be to do the blend, take advantage of those couple of months, and then push that to an extension that would go through May of 2025. So I'll pause there. Any questions on the electric portion?
Could we get that in place by, we've only got 2 weeks?
Yeah, so the way that the contract reads, I just made an adjustment to it right now, would be next available. So the individuals who have an earlier meter read date wouldn't pick that up, but anyone who still has April, so, you know, it's not everyone on April 1st, it can be
Right.
2nd, 3rd, et cetera, et cetera.
Right.
So anyone who we could pick up in April certainly would be brought in, and then everyone in entirety would be eligible for May.
So they wouldn't go off of their old program until they got to this new blended extended rate program?
That's correct. Yes.
Because of what used to be a period where you go in, you go back to old AEP, and then you come back, and that was,
This would be seamless.
okay.
Yeah, so one bill, they would have the
We go from
849,
one to the other.
exactly. Yep.
Questions?
Yes, so, I appreciate this. This is much more precise and concise.
Sure.
I appreciate it. Different question. Is 1 year extension, the only option? I know it is for tonight, but as compared to a 2 or 3 year?
So no, it's not. There's a couple of different things to talk about in terms of what happens after May of 2025. The options presented here were just through May of 2025. There is a component in the electric supply price called capacity. And basically that is a charge that's put in place to incentivize generators to produce electricity during high volume times to avoid rolling brownouts and blackouts. That price is typically set through a 3-year auction period. So we usually know that 3 years in advance.
Mhm.
However, there's been countless delays with that auction happening. And now the Federal Energy Regulatory Committee is involved. So, you know, federal government getting involved in is not speeding things up any. So the next auction is supposed to take place in June. That still just brings us from 25 to 26. We cannot fix an unknown component. And if you do, residents are just going to pay an exorbitant premium. Most suppliers don't want to do that. So the way that the utilities are handling right now is they're making a $0 assumption. And then once that cost becomes known, they'll adjust the price. So we could certainly do the same thing for 25 and beyond if you wanted to look at, you know, 25 to 26 or 25 to 27 even. But just know that component won't be included until it becomes known. And then it'll just be adjusted and applied unilaterally.
So that's totally makes sense, but is somewhat worrisome to me because my understanding is that the available amount of electricity starting like 26 will be perhaps more scarce because of Intel.
That's part of it. Looking at the addition of renewables into the fuel mix, they're intermittent resources. The sun's not always shining, the wind's not always blowing. You know, if you have these coal producers coming offline and just substituting them with renewables, that creates a bit more of a challenge. So that's in part why this auction has been delayed for such a long time, because you're trying to figure out what is the fair rule to put in place that applies to more fossil fuel traditional generators and to the renewable generators. So that is something that is a concern, not just, you know, locally with Intel, but throughout the entire grid. So Ohio and outside. You're seeing similar things with a lot of data centers coming out in West Virginia. You know, out east, we're seeing similar constraints. So that is just a general concern. They're trying to figure out how they can adjust this auction process to make sure that people are bidding fairly and that they're incentivizing these generators enough so we don't run into that problem. Unfortunately, nothing you or I are going to be able to do about that. But yeah, that's a concern across the board.
So it just means we're at their mercy.
A little bit, yes. And now the federal government's mercy a little bit too.
Thank you.
Sure, of course.
No questions?
So I would be happy to look at the 25 and beyond.
Well, but based on what you said, I'm not sure it's going to be helpful because it's the unknown component that will be fixed later that I'm worried about. And so we're not mitigating that problem because they're not allowing it.
The thing you would be doing would be securing the energy commodity price today instead of waiting. However, since that auction is supposed to happen in June, and we're seeing a little bit of weirdness right now coming out of the heating season, coming out of the winter, we're not yet to the summer. Since we had no winter, the market is trying to kind of make up for it on the back end. My personal suggestion would be to wait those couple of months, see what happens with this auction in June, so that we know that now unknown will become known. And then we can see if that 25 and beyond market settles out a little bit.
So that's interesting. This, which is spurred some thinking for me because generally speaking, when it's a really cold winter, the utility companies are stressed and they don't like that. But there's a point that they don't like real warm either because they didn't make any money because they're not at optimum capacity.
That's exactly right. Yeah, so while we have seen the gas market reflect that, price of natural gas has gone down because it really hasn't been used as a heating fuel all winter. We aren't seeing that same thing reflected in electricity further out. You know, everything makes sense in the rest of 24, but once you get past winter of 25, it's a little wonky, I think. Generators are trying to make up that lost money from this past winter.
Yeah, which is good, not from us though.
Okay, Megan?
No question.
No questions? Couple of questions for you.
Sure.
If we went with the April program, is there any problem because our current contract goes through May 31? So is there any problem with changing from one program to the other program? I mean, does it cost any money to do that change?
No, there's no additional cost.
So just dropping out and changing to this program is no problem?
That's right.
Okay.
Yep. A letter would go out, another opt-out letter would go out, and that would go out in April. But it wouldn't go out April and then June. It would just go out April. The PUCO mandates you have to send a letter, even if it's, hey, guess what, you're gonna pay less.
Can you
have to
make it more clear and less
Confusing.
confusing? It sounded redundant, I didn't want to go there, but you understand. Because people read it and they don't know what's going on.
Can you make it grammatically correct as well?
I'm
Because
happy to.
it comes as if it's from us, and it's like, y'all are gonna save on some, you know, if you opt in. It's not our language at all, and I understand that there's some legalese that we have to wrap around that, but we've provided suggestions in the past that did not get taken up, and there's just some, in my view, if it's gonna come from our board, or representative of our board, then I at least want us to have some ability to massage the language, the grammar, the headings, those kinds of things, even if there's obviously going to be some clear stuff you have to include and not include. And if you want, you can just, if you guys are amenable to that, you just send it to me.
Sure.
And I can bring the feedback here, and then I can send you the final draft of what we would want. Of course, if you need to modify that slightly, not a problem, but I think that would be the best way, because every single time that letter comes out, we hear from a dozen, 2 dozen residents who are just utterly confused.
And they're not happy. And I thought I already did this. Why am I out? Why am I in it? And then, especially with the gas one, you send it to everybody, and then they realize, oh, it's just what, Columbia? Oh, it's just, you know, propane? No, they're so confused.
So yeah, yes and yes.
Okay,
I
great,
can
thank
certainly
you.
send that to you.
That'd be
Yeah, we've incorporated, kind of recently some additional comments from other townships, so that's not a problem. The second page is the thing that requires, hey, these FAQs have to be in there, disclosures, all
Got it.
that. But the
Got
first
it.
letter, hey, there's a program in place, this is what it means, this is the contact, we can change that up however you want to change it.
Great,
Put
great.
your logo, we don't have to put your logo, we can make it clear, don't call the township, call the supplier, call Trey Bell, whatever you want to do in that regard, that's not a problem. Easy to change.
That'd be fantastic, thank you. I
Sure.
appreciate that part.
Personally, my feeling is I'd like to go with the April program, and the reason is we're going from the higher rate to the lower rate immediately, taking advantage of it. And looking at the numbers they've got here, which is what we gotta look at, there's an overall savings, rather than waiting. So to make the things the lowest price for our residents, the April program is one that makes sense, in my mind.
I think you're right.
I agree.
Okay, so with that, any more discussion? Okay, I would like to make a motion that we work with Trey Bell Electric to implement the program for current electric aggregation program beginning April 1, 2024 through May 30th, 2025 at 0.6691 cents per, no, dollars, 0.6691 dollars per kilowatt hour, which is a 21.2% savings over the current rate. And direct all written communications with the residents to Trustee Rail for review before sending them out to the public.
And who are you going to have execute any documents necessary?
Pardon?
Who will you have execute any documents necessary?
And
to
have trustee board execute all documents with Trey Bell Electric that's necessary.
Second.
Okay, discussion? Call the roll, please.
Bullard,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Rail,
Yes.
And what you do? Gas,
Gas,
natural gas.
yes, natural gas. So currently your natural gas program is on a variable month-to-month rate, I shouldn't say month-to-month, variable monthly rate with a 2% discount off of the adder. So last time I was here, I misspoke. You had mentioned you had previously been on a fixed rate, you went to the variable rate, you're open to doing either. The way that the market is right now, and if you flip to the next page, it'll give you a good visual here. This gives you every month of gas pricing from Columbia Gas. It's a little bit different that it changes every single month. If you look back January 22 till, March, let's call it February of 23, maybe a little before, Jan 22 to Jan 23, the prices were fairly high and fluctuated quite a bit. And some of that had to do with seasonal issues. Some of that had to do with the Russia-Ukraine conflict, increase in natural gas exports, liquefied natural gas exports overseas. But then as you can see over the past year here, those prices really have become very, very deflated. So it was good advisement to say, go on a variable rate. We can give you a guaranteed discount off of the adder, but the market price is going to be the market price, same as the utility, same as what this contract would read. It leads to a little bit less of a challenge, less upsetness in terms of residents saying, why am I paying higher than what the utility price is? I would advise going with that same strategy, at least again through the summertime. Even if we've seen some volatility, residents are really using such a small amount of gas, natural gas, that it's not going to be so impactful. However, if you wanted to do a fixed rate, the fixed rate prices are 5399 through May of 2025 and 5825 through May of 2026. So it's higher than what the utility variable price has been over the past year, but it's a bit of an insurance policy that if something wild happens, then you're fixed at a certain price. again, given summertime, even if we do see a lot of market volatility, you're using such small amounts that it really doesn't materialize too much. But that's kind of the lay of the land. You know, it's a little bit more low risk. I think if you stick with this strategy, we have the availability to be able to fix a price at any time between, you know, now and May of 2025. The suppliers only offer this percentage discount for 1 year at a time. So that's the furthest we could go right now if you're doing the variable product. But as we get into, you know, August, September, we're kind of approaching that heating season coming back, we can convert that to a fixed price if you prefer to have that whole insurance policy in place and not have it continue to go variable throughout the winter. So that would be my suggestion. But if there's more comfort in making sure, hey, no, we know we have a fixed price now and it's not going to change for the next year, then, you know, here's those prices. Next year or 2 years, I would really only suggest you go on this. I'm happy to answer any questions.
At its lowest point in the last 2 years right now.
What's the rate you're paying now?
Last month was 3,415. The challenge is,
So
you know,
this SCO is the rate that the residents are paying right now?
standard choice offer that's offered through the utility, that's correct.
Probably why we haven't heard any complaints about the gas. So it's the same question that we addressed a couple of years ago, which is, do you keep it variable knowing that it could go up?
But as I said, at any point between now and May of 2025, we can secure a fixed position. So if we're getting into April, September, you know, before any type of real wild fluctuation would have a dramatic impact, people aren't using heat. I mean, really, it's, you know, gas dryers. That's about it. We could do that at that point in time.
I mean, do you think it will go much lower than?
No.
I don't think so either.
No, because as we were just talking about, you know, there's a certain point where generators don't want to produce because they aren't making money. The operating cost is higher than whatever the commodity price is that they're being paid. It's just been very, very unusual with, you know, no winter this year.
Mhm.
We can do nothing and look like heroes, or do nothing and look like fools. So it's kind of a crapshoot on which way we do that.
Well, except for that, to go fix is so much higher that I don't think it makes sense in this particular case. Because when you look at the economic cycle, there's not going to be a greater demand than what currently there is by a very large factor. And if there is, then more oil will be produced, and a byproduct of the oil is the gas. And so I think that's why gas prices are also so low. So I don't see a real risk at this point in time. Does it let her go out doing nothing?
It does, because the current program is expiring at the end of April.
And you say in that letter, nothing's changed, this is telling you nothing's changed?
We're extending the same offer as you currently have. It is a variable month to month and
And
a
you don't have to
guaranteed
do anything.
discount. Yes, you don't have to do it.
That's my recommendation, is to do nothing in this particular case, because I think that the risk is minimal compared to the added cost, because it's almost 2/5 more.
Mhm.
And I don't think that the lock-in at 40% higher is wise.
I think it will likely cause more noise.
Well, if I really thought it was good for the citizens, I would handle the noise, but I don't, so I'm in favor of doing what we're doing.
If 34 cents is the cheapest it's been in the last 2 years. And if it follows last year, it'll go down some for the next couple of months. Any other questions? Any ideas which way you want to go?
I want to keep it as it is.
I agree.
Okay, so we need a motion to do that, correct? To extend it?
That's correct. Yes, that would go
And
through
what's-
the end
what's
of
the
May of
timeframe?
2025.
What's the time frame for extending it?
May?
I mean, the current contract expires
At the end of April.
end of April, so
Mhm.
April 30th, May 1
Correct.
to,
May 31st, 2025. So it would be a year extension, but 13 months.
so it goes May 1 to when?
May 31,
To
2025.
May 31?
Correct.
Okay. Is that agreeable to everybody? Okay. Make a motion that we work with Trey Bell to extend the current gas aggregation, natural gas aggregation program for Columbia customers from May 1, 2024 to May 31 of 2025. And direct all customer communications to Trustee Rail for approval and appoint Trustee Bullard to sign all paperwork necessary for aggregation implementation.
Second?
Call the roll, please.
Bullard,
Yes,
O'Brien,
Yes.
Rail.
Yes.
that was easy. Thanks.
Very welcome.
That was the easiest it's ever been.
Of course.
See, if you
Happy to
answer
hear
the
that.
questions, I'm not difficult, am I?
Well, very happy to hear that.
Could you send this to us electronically? Of course. I'd like to post it on the website and, for slide 2, where it says contracted rate,
Yes.
you mentioned that it's still, current AP rate, it's still lower than that, than the current AP
That's
rate.
right. Yep.
Could you add a little like parenthesis to that so that we can indicate that we're still paying lower, but that we've taken this extra step to save even more money?
Yes.
Okay, that'd be fantastic. And then, I think everything else they can infer. Oh, and this chart, it's very, very faint.
It is.
Could you make it a little bit darker?
Yes. In the electronic version, it is.
I figured that. I figured it was a print thing.
But it's labeled nicely and it's clear as to what you're saying. Thank you.
You're very welcome. All very reasonable things to ask.
And then for this total 2023, could you say gas and electric combined?
Sure.
And then put the total amount like bold right underneath. Fantastic.
You might, maybe you do that, but that's really hard.
Yeah.
Yes,
That's what I said.
the electronic version is much easier. Well, certainly, I'll make those changes.
Thank you. Really
I have
appreciate
to fill in just a couple of details on the documents here, and then you let me know when you're ready. I can hang around and nothing else this evening.
Whenever you're ready, just give me a call. You got my phone number, right?
She wants you to sign it tonight.
Okay.
Can you
Yes.
sign it tonight?
I can sign it tonight.
Yeah,
Can you
okay.
sign it tonight?
Yeah,
I
perfect.
want to take a look at it, but
Yeah, absolutely. I'm gonna write in a couple of details in terms of the term that was
put that
selected.
in, put it together, and then leave it with me. I'll get it to you.
Great, okay.
Because I want to take a look.
Take a look, read through it, sure.
Okay?
Okay, thank you all.
Thank you.
And be sure to tell Scott how the meeting went.
I'll be sure to read it.
Okay, next item. Approval of the February 26, 24 minutes. Do we have a
I
motion?
move to approve the 2/26/24 regular meeting minutes and dispense with the reading.
Second?
Discussion? Call the roll, please.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Rail,
Yes.
Bullard.
Yes. Fire department requisitions.
There are none for tonight.
Mm-hmm.
He pulled it.
Nothing? Anything else on the fire department?
We'll need to go into executive session for collective bargaining.
Okay, can we do that later in the meeting?
Yes, please.
We'll do that then. Let's go fire department, road department, requisitions. If you received one, it should have been in your inbox today. And the reason that we did it today is the delivery time is going to take about 6 weeks. And 6 weeks from now is when we want to use it. What this is goes on the loader, and it allows for putting concrete in the grades. So safer way of doing it. The other thing that's really good about it is it can be used for mulch, it can be used for dirt, it can be used for gravel. It doesn't have to be just concrete. So we use it for putting mulch around and things like that. The cost is $6,500, and putting in a 10% commitment. Contingency is $7,150 to Van Walker, Plain City. So with that, I'd like to make a motion that we approve the requisition for any discussion, any questions or issues.
No.
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the requisition to Van Walker for the amount of $7,150 for a Dan Sauer mega mixer to be delivered and used for cemetery work. So moved.
Second.
Discussion?
What fund are you wanting this to come out of? Out of roads, out of general fund, or out of cemetery?
It should come out of cemetery because that's where it's mainly going to be used. But if we can go 90-10, I think the 10% from the road department and then the 90% from the cemetery.
Thank you.
Okay. Call the roll, please.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Rail,
Yes.
Bullard,
Yes. Okay. And next one is going to take just a little bit. And that's the only requisition we had. Road worker have interviewed and found someone that's, has a CDL and be, working in the area. He's worked in the area for a long time doing similar kind of work. As a part-time employee and, well, I'd like to retire from it and, I think he would be a good person to put on. East the ponds, a completion of paperwork and all that. But to hire him as a road worker one, the road employee one, with a 6-month probationary period. With a $1 reduction in pay for that 6-month period of time. Any questions, or you want to interview him?
Well, if you are recommending him,
I'm recommending him.
I'm okay.
You've met with him?
Yes, I've met with him. And he works in the area, would like to go from part-time to full-time. And the road department guys have met with him. I didn't meet with him until they felt like he was someone they could work with. So I want to make sure that the road department has people that they're working with that they're comfortable with, like you did with the fire. Do you know the rate on that, Claudia?
not off the top of my head.
I don't either.
So is it a road laborer 2,
Pardon?
road laborer 1?
Okay, and I expect that they will move up. He's, he has a CDL, which is, that's worth an awful lot to us.
So there's road labor 1, 2 new hire, and a 2. Which one are you doing?
I was thinking of one, but is one for people without CDLs? Can
I don't know, because we have truck driver, no CDL, truck driver, CDL.
he's definitely a CDL. Let's make a road laborer 1. If I've made a mistake, I'll come back and correct it at the next meeting.
That's
I believe that's
$17.52 an hour.
Pardon?
That's $17.52 an hour.
And what's road laborer two?
New hire 2119.
Road laborer two. I think that's the right place to say.
Or there's road laborer 2, not a new hire, 2310.
But the 2310 is a $1 deduction for the probationary period.
You want the laborer 2,
Laborer two,
not the new hire.
not the new one. Well,
Why wouldn't it be the new hire? Why wouldn't it just be new hire with no reduction, just new hire? Because that sounds what it is. And then after 6 months, then we'll decide whether or not to bump them up.
I was trying to remember whether road laborer one is a CDL driver or not. That's the.
Read the job description. I do not know.
And do you
Yes,
want him
let
to
me-
start,
let me-
when do you want him to start the next pay period?
Let's delay this, we'll pick it up later. What I want to do is I want to look at the difference between road laborer one and road laborer two. And that's the only difference.
When is he starting the next pay period?
It just started on the 3rd, so the next one would be the 17th. March 17th.
Would you want to start date on the 17th then? 3/17, the start of the next pay period?
We would start next pay period, assuming that he accepts the job and gets all the paperwork done by that time. You know. Let me check that, 'cause I really want to check between road laborer one and two.
Sure.
Okay, I'll do that when we get a break. I assume we're gonna get a break here someplace. And I'd like to coincidentally take Jeff Evans off of his probationary period. He's completed a 6 month time frame as a road superintendent assistant or assistant road superintendent. So I'd like to make a motion that we remove Jeff Evans from the probationary period and restore his pay to full pay.
Effective when?
What is full pay rate? Effective when and what is full pay rate?
Effective with the next check.
And then what is his full pay rate?
With what, huh?
What is his full pay rate?
$1 more than what he's getting right now. I know that.
$1 increase
I
for
don't know.
pay?
Second,
Okay. Discussion, call the roll, please.
Hang on.
And just to be clear, that's $1 more than his current rate pay.
That was what we did at the time he was promoted to the position.
Seems to have worked out.
So it's currently 2740, so you're saying 2840?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
friendly amendment to that motion.
Rail,
Yes,
Bullard,
Yes.
O'Brien.
yes.
Okay. Got that. Cemetery. We're looking to pour in mid-May the foundations for the cemetery back here, just to bring everybody up to date. And I've got a question which we don't cover in our cemetery rules. The question is, we require a full grave space for an infant. We don't have small graves for infants. And what we have in Evergreen is a case where there's an infant buried in a grave space, it's a full grave space. And now they have a cremation that they would like to put in that grave space. What we say is you can put a full-size burial in the grave space, or you can use 2 remains in the grave space, but we didn't cover the case of full-size remains and a remains. Told Tim that right now, the way we see it is you have, if you want to go to another grave space, you have the ability to put 2 remains in it. But the one we've got right now, you don't put remains in it because there is a grave, or is a body already in that grave space. Do you all have any thoughts or?
So when my daughter died, I had this discussion because, generally speaking here, you're allowed to bury an infant with the mom if they die at the same time. So there's precedence for having an infant and another body in the same grave site.
Okay, so cemetery rules doesn't cover that, just what you said. Okay, could you
So,
say that?
so my understanding is that in the past, that if an infant and mom died at, childbirth, that they were both allowed to be buried in the same site. Now, I don't know if that meant they were in the same casket or not, but that's what my understanding was. So like when we buried Catherine, she couldn't be buried with Lisa because it's after. But there is some precedence of 2 in 1 in certain circumstances, and if you're talking about an infant and cremains, I'm more open to that than some of the other things that have been presented before. What are your thoughts?
I need to step away from
Sure.
that, I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
My apologies.
we will listen to it.
The new hire road labor 2, the new hire road labor 2 does have CDL. The job description does have CDL.
For,
The new hire
as a CDO, okay,
laborer 2.
okay. And it was 17 how much?
No,
That one was
it was 21 something.
21.
17, 21.
years.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Much better. I'm inclined towards as much flexibility when it comes to honoring the wishes of how people want to end up burying with and without their family, to the extent that if they're willing to pay the extra price for the extra work that is required to later add or subtract, then I think we should let them do it.
Well, I agree to an extent. If they're wanting to do the burial on top of each other, we said no to that. So there are some things that are no's.
Yeah, but that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about specifically.
So I'm okay with this one. I just don't want to extend
Yeah.
it to whatever people want.
Okay, so let me clarify. I don't want to get into is it a baby or is it an adult or that sort of.
No, it's a question of cremation. It's a question of side by side.
There's not room.
Okay, so I thought So I'm not saying I'm opposed to this, but my understanding was you were saying it was an infant and remains.
You know, the thing is, we don't know how big the casket is or any of that sort of stuff. It's over there. It's not in the baby land area. It's in a different area of the cemetery. And it's complicated. The grave was near one of the driveways and there's kind of a wedge shaped thing. And we think the casket got pushed into kind of the wedge part of the thing and there's some open space. That's a very special case. Most cases like that aren't going to be, most cases are not going to be that. Most cases are going to be an adult where they want to put a baby or something of that range in there. So I want to make sure that we're clear. Is it just for a baby, you could put another remain in there or another, and it's not a casket. If the baby's a casket or if the adult's a casket, the remains, does that work either way?
Okay, so what I think I'm hearing, I'm okay with it in this situation, and if there's another situation just like this, I'll be okay with it also. But it sounds like that may not be true. And so then we have to revisit it at that point in time. Am I clear? Well, I'm clear, but are you?
You're clear on allowing a specific situation across time, if that was the same situation.
Yes.
I'm okay with that. Could we write that into the rules though? And have that reflected? Weren't you working on that document?
No, I'm working on it. I am.
So add it to your list.
Okay, so we're going to be okay with a baby and a remains or a baby and an adult. So I'm just trying to understand the rules. Okay.
So if it's,
Baby and remain, we're okay.
so if the baby and the adult are at the same time,
Mhm.
I would be okay with that.
Okay.
And I would even be okay with them being buried like that because it's
Sure.
the norm.
How about if it's a father? Just-
If it's at the same time, if it's at the same time,
Or a sister?
if it's at the same time.
Okay.
I would be open to it being at different times if it's at their expense to do it.
But here's the issue with that is baby vaults and things are like plastic. And so if you dig down, you're gonna dig into it. And it's not like if the baby was after the adult, maybe, but if the baby's first, you're going to dig into that grave, into that casket, and I'm not okay with that.
Yeah.
Don't forget the grave spaces, Fairview or Evergreen are small than the grave spaces back here, quite a bit small.
So okay with it, as long as it fits in the site.
I'm just trying to think. of-
Well, so let's just solve for this situation today. We're okay with what you suggested.
The remains and the adult,
Yeah,
or the remains and the baby.
yes.
Okay, but an adult and a remains, if they're at the same time, we're okay with that.
I'm okay with that.
Okay. I'm just trying to, and then an adult with a second adult at the same time, not two full-size bodies,
No.
not that sort, but an adult and a child, it could be a couple, with a brother and sister.
Yeah, we don't need to go over the scenarios, we get it, yeah.
Yeah, but I'm just trying to figure out how we.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let
Good.
me write, I gotta make a couple notes.
Yeah, and then we can reflect that into the current rules
This is gonna be.
and kind of build out on a case-by-case basis, because we do have a blanket statement in the rules that says something like trustees reserve the right to make these determinations on a case-by-case basis, I think.
I don't recall that perhaps.
What, didn't you have something in there about that?
Baby and remains, baby and adult at the same time. How about an adult and remains?
If it were at the same time,
If it's at the same time, but if it's not at the same time,
then I have to think about that one.
okay. What we're saying with the baby, you could add remains, but with the baby, an adult and remains aren't going to fit at the same time.
Yeah, just write it out and then you know your answer for this specific case and then write it out and then we can look at it at that time and maybe it will strike us differently then.
I can work with this and make the rules, but we're saying with a baby and remains probably makes sense, a baby and an adult at the same time, and those could be non-remains. And then not add anything to an existing adult grave. Correct. I think that's what we're saying.
At this time.
Not add anything to an existing baby grave.
Okay, I think I can,
I think that we should I would still like to discuss adding something to an adult grave later.
okay, I'll work something out on the pricing. I think I can get all that done. Since you all have given me the authority to do what I need to do, I'll take this, put this away. Okay. Okay.
But here, okay, so there's the logistics of it. But then there's also who has control over that grade. So who has control over that grade? So that's where I think that you're gonna have more problems. Because, this was,
He's already buried there, so he's got control of it, but he didn't do anything to make this happen, so.
but now I want my third cousin's daughter in this gravesite. But the person who owned the gravesite is dead, and it was never bequeathed to anybody, because there's always somebody in there.
That's
You don't bequeath a filled grave. So you understand the problem that's coming. Who has the authority to put another? And so if it's not clear, I think the answer is no.
Or do we say immediate family only?
We'll define immediate.
Well, we would have that laid out,
Okay, so I could be.
but we would specify the roles.
Because I don't want the
You want to
sexton
avoid-
to have to make a decision.
Right.
And, so.
But if we said, father, child, mother, child, something, laid it out, husband, wife.
And send that through the prosecutor's office, make
Yeah.
sure they're not being discriminatory,
Yeah.
non-worthy.
Yeah.
It isn't just somebody walking up and saying, hey, I want to marry somebody that.
Right. Because if we don't have a rule, then you said,
I understand. I know exactly what you're talking about. Okay. Let me pick up the. Okay, that's good. Anything else on subject? Fiscal officer items?
The February bank statement balanced, which is
I move that we approve payment, listing 3/12/2024 to 3/12/2024 for an amount of $57,926.10.
Second.
Discussion?
Rail,
Yes.
Fuller,
Yes.
O'Brien.
Yes.
You need us to sign that or motion to do that? Okay. Any other fiscal officer items?
Yeah.
Trustee items, charging of electric cars. You all see the note I took. We've done some work at this station. We've got one outlet over here that's outside, one outlet over between the doors in the road department. That one has been disabled because we never use it. So it's disabled.
So when you say it's just,
Disconnected, so it's not usable. And then there is one in the back by the door. And that one, it's hard to find, all that sort of, whatever. What we were looking at over there is putting something like this in, which is a box with a ground fault interrupter and a place to put a lock. We checked at the fire station, there was 11 of them at the fire station. Those 11 do have a place to put a lock, there are no locks on them. So the suggestion was that we put this one in, put a lock on it, and get locks for the ones down at the fire station. Lock can be as simple as a tie wrap, which is probably not a good idea, but you have to put a lock there and key it. This one is disabled right now, but it also disabled 2 outlets in the trustee's office. So what we'd like to do is be able to get that one where we can still use it outside. Any discussion or any thought?
Is that person gonna pay us for the electricity meetings? Is it not considered stealing technically?
What?
Is it not considered stealing technically?
Yeah, it's like, and I told them it was like stealing gas out of a pump.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. And, the cost of towing a car is in the $25 to $35 range for electricity. So the electric usage to be able to fill that car up would be in that amount of money. I checked with the prosecutor and, to see if we could put in some of those charging posts, and townships are not authorized to sell electricity. So we can't do that. So we can encourage other people to put in places where you can put in charging stations, but. And the proliferation of more electric cars just makes it more and more possible for
Oh,
this
yeah.
kind of thing to happen.
Yeah, thanks for taking that task.
Does that seem like a good solution?
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, that's what we'll do. We'll put this out there, and at some point, we're gonna buy a bunch of locks for the fire station and all over here. Okay, any other trustee items?
I'll bring up my items as late items.
Okay, zoning department.
Yes, the first thing is the February report, which you all have. I spoke with zoning inspector Jerry Valentine today, and he has processed all of those zoning permits and put them into our new iWork software, and he's at 71 for the year total. So we're cooking with the permits, so to speak. And I don't see that slowing up either. He's getting a lot of inquiries about different items, and of course pools will be coming up soon. Starting getting a lot of inquiries about pools.
Mhm.
So that's all for zoning report.
We've got 20 minutes, and we can pick up this fire development, whatever, at this point, if you'd like to do that. If you would offer up.
Yeah. Good
Good evening. My name is Sean McNichol, with Spire Development. I sent a letter that is on the agenda this evening. And so I just wanted to swing by and tell you a little bit about the project that we're proposing. We're looking to develop a 7-unit multifamily project at 6601 US 36.
Could I make a little statement at the front? Might make life a little bit easier here. This is a piece of property. It is zoned currently farm residential. And we have an overlay zoning that's available for that area. The overlay zoning, you bring down the cloud from the cloud, and that is done at the time of an application. So the zoning is FR1 until such time as the zoning application is put in place and gets through the zoning commission, gets through the approval process, all that sort of stuff. So if you got general or hypothetical questions, it's fine. If you got specific questions, I'm not interested in entertaining those without an application.
Yeah, no, that's not the case at all. I understand this isn't a zoning hearing. More just wanted to share that we are looking to develop that property for 7 units. We're looking to comply specifically with zoning. We won't ask for any variances or anything of that nature. And so I really just wanted to open the floor and introduce myself and see if you had any questions or concerns about the project. I brought some preliminary site plans. Again, I understand this isn't a zoning hearing, but just to give an idea of a really small development. 7 units in the grand scheme of things is quite small, especially on a 12-acre property. That's to provide scale of the overall development. And then this is just a closer look at the site. And again, we'll edit it as needed through zoning, but this is our initial, what we have in mind for the property. And so, yeah.
At this point, I'm not willing to comment on it because we don't have an application that we're really addressing. So it's not something to compare to our zoning text and the zoning book that we're working with.
Yeah.
Anybody got a challenge?
I would say to make certain that you work closely with our zoning inspector, because he'll approve the checklist for the application, particularly with the R10. You're gonna wanna make certain you have certain parameters in place for the overlay, and the zoning inspector will be the one to work with. I will also say that you can't go back and forth between our attorneys and our zoning inspector. If you wanna work with our attorney, and then that's where the communication will come from. But if you don't wanna do that, if you wanna work through our zoning inspector, that's perfectly fine too. But what we don't wanna get into is a situation where the zoning inspector says one thing and then you go to our attorney and then you're kind of controlling the situation and putting our zoning inspector in a position where, they are vulnerable because they're not an attorney and they're, communicating with various attorneys and doing these different things. So at that point, if you want to work with our attorney, perfectly fine, but then step back from the zoning inspector.
Sure.
The best route forward, especially for the overlay, would be to work directly with the zoning inspector and make certain that you comply, because we have a nice checkbox list. You follow the application process, which is right over there, laid out. It's online. I think it's been pretty well streamlined overall in terms of the application process. And then any specifics, obviously, we would address when it came our time to address. But you'll start with the architectural review board, you'll go to the zoning commission, and then you'll come to us.
So did I hear you say no divergences or variances?
Correct, yeah.
Well, that'll make life very easy for you and us. But I will tell you that we're a stickler for what it says. And one area, I don't know what yours is like, but one area that has tripped everybody up is the landscaping around the parking, means around the parking. There is no parking that you can see without landscaping.
Noted. Yeah, thank you for sharing.
So,
Yeah, we wish to fully comply with zoning, and we'll work hand in hand with Jerry, make sure that we're meeting the intent of the zoning code. And
That'll make life easy.
yeah, so
Yeah, I think
Again.
I think if you also reference some of our prior overlay discussions, you'll see that there are, like you mentioned, that one, there are a couple pretty common themes that come up, that you just stick to the letter of the code and,
We'll lean on Jerry then if there's.
Yeah.
So it sounds like working hand in hand with him will be instrumental in making
yeah,
sure we're.
because if you don't get all the information in, this would be this is like a final plan, it's not a preliminary approval.
Yep.
So if you don't get all the information in, it doesn't even move forward until Jerry says it's good to go.
Yep.
If you do want divergences, it will move forward, but everybody will know what the divergences are.
And then life won't be so good for you or us.
Understood. Yeah, really, that was just the intent. I just wanted to put a name with a face. I know I was here last week, but I wanted to give you an idea of what we had in mind and just see if you had any questions or concerns. So,
For the letter so if you there's a comment period, is that something where residents can also comment on?
yeah, it's absolutely allowed.
Is that something that maybe we should put on our website
I
to
don't see any problem with it.
post?
But in the end, if there are no divergences and no variances, I don't really see,
Well, yeah, it's just transparency.
but there would be no reason to object if it's in fully compliance, you know.
Would you be amenable to us putting the letter on the website to indicate that residents are welcome to submit feedback?
I'm okay with that. I'm hesitant without an application.
Yeah, well,
But without an application, we don't have something hard that we can deal with.
Yeah.
And when we have an application, we would probably have lots of questions. I think these gentlemen back there will say how many questions we can ask. We are sticklers for questions. But at this point, we're only talking in hypotheticals,
Right.
because that's all we've got to work with. So that's the only concern I've got.
Yeah, and we wouldn't be to a point where we're pulling permits or anything until late this year at the earliest. So we're still in the initial stages, and again, I was just hoping to, I guess, present what we would like to do. I guess we're old fashioned that way. And,
So you aren't going to seek any exemptions, correct?
correct.
typically the process at its kind of fastest point would be around 4 months to get through everything.
Okay.
So the sooner, if you intend to do something by the end of this year, you're gonna want to start working with Jerry sooner than later. Because you would go to the architectural review board, and it would be another 30 days to the commission, and another 30 to 45 days before you end up getting in to us. So just kind of plan out your proposal accordingly.
Yeah, realistically, breaking ground spring of 25.
Yeah, I would think so, but, you know, it's as fast as you want to go, in some ways, so.
Yeah. So, okay, well, pleased to meet you, and please don't hesitate to reach out in the meantime if you have any questions or concerns that come up, and look forward to being a part of the community.
Probably we won't reach out until there's an application. And at that point, we won't reach out until you come before us.
Certainly.
But I think when you work with Jerry and with the zoning commission, you do a good job getting a lot of different elements addressed.
Understood. All right, well, thank you for your time this evening.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Can I ask a question about zoning? There was some, or there was a letter or something, or maybe it was just verbal conversation about the AICS codes for the business park may need to be revised. Is that a revision, or do we need to do something? or-
We don't need to do anything right now. We sent a number of NAICS codes to the zoning commission for their consideration of inclusion. Now, of course, we can still include other ones at the time that we review it, but do you happen to know if they passed the most recent? I don't know if they approved the most recent zoning resolution or if they delayed it for another couple weeks, but they have had those conversations, is my understanding. And then when it comes here, we'll have to go through the NAICS codes again. Because we have a number of the NAICS codes that were from, I sent this list, but it was all around Intel in Phoenix.
Mhm.
All those companies that opened up within 3 years of Intel opening, those are gonna be probably the similar companies that will be up here. So we wanna certainly look at those codes, with a good eye for the detail there and ask if any of them make sense to be here.
Okay, I just didn't want it to, us to be holding up something in the end.
No, no, we're not holding up anything, I mean, not anything more
I
than.
want it to be going forward. I think it needs to be done.
Yeah, I think it does too. I'm eager to see what the draft that gets approved, and then we'll have a public hearing on it. And then depending on how much we modify it, which we may have some substantive changes, we may want to give the zoning commission another round, another bite at the feedback apple, so to speak. So we may want to welcome them to kind of a joint session. That would be quicker than denying it and then sending it back all the way through again. So. You don't like the feedback apple?
I like it to be right the first time.
Well, sure, but they didn't have necessarily all things.
Yes. You understand the issues that always arise with it.
Yeah,
I mean, it's just a normal process. So I prefer,
they've made hundreds of changes. It's comprehensively overdone, yeah, right now. And I think we need to probably come back in and do things like signage across all, you know?
what do you mean they're making it?
No, they've done a great job. They've done a great job. They've done a great job. We'll just have to look at it at the time.
Well, but here's what you brought my concern
Okay, yeah.
up and to know. I wanted it to be consistent throughout the document, and are they making different?
No, so for example, the request for an extension, who do you go to? That was made consistent.
Okay,
But you have to change it, then just put it in one place and say that this applies to everything. You have to change it in every single one.
that's great, that's what I want.
Okay.
But that's
And
one
so you
example.
shall have.
But there are other things that make it confusing.
There's still some of that. And so what I think we'll have to do is they honed in on the BCO and BIO language, really got that in good shape. They did a number of other changes throughout. They changed it from a 2-step to a 1-step for most of them. And then,
Most.
well, some of them, it kind of read almost like for the BCO and BIO, it already was basically that, the overlays. But then OCPUD and the business park overlays were 2 different types of overlays and 2 different processes. And so I don't know what they actually ended up doing, but there was conversation about making all of that like one process as opposed to.
I kind of like that idea,
I do too, but we'll have to see how it all comes out.
if it actually
Yeah,
did that.
yeah, and we had Jen Newber review the document. She presented to them twice. She gave them the recommendations, and so I think we're in great shape overall. If we end up accepting this version, I think that we should also start doing the additional modifications. Because one of the things that we didn't do is we didn't, Tony had mentioned this before, but we didn't adopt the map. So the map defers back to the old map, he said. We need to approve the zoning resolution, adopt the new map. And then from there, we have a really good solid base, and then we can send it to Tony. He can go through it with a fine-tooth comb over the next,
7 years.
well, it's gonna take a few months. And then that way, you know, we still are working on the document and tightening it up, but, you know, they made a good number of changes. It's in a lot better shape now. But I don't know, I haven't read it all the way through, so we may read it and we may say,
Well, but the problem is, and why I wanted that attorney to do it is, you may read it and it may make total sense, but then when it compares here, the general to the specific, it might have a conflict that I can't see
yeah,
readily
yeah.
until somebody points it out. So it's,
Well, and Jen was great with that. I think that she really helped the zoning commission a lot to see and understand what is being recommended, so.
Okay, so I just wanted to make sure that was moving.
Yeah, it's all moving. It's
Okay,
all moving.
anything else that we need to be concerned with?
Not at this
Do
time.
you want to stop? We've got 5 minutes.
I guess we could, I mean, do we want to talk about, we want to bring it up as a late item? I'll bring it up as a late item.
let's say,
Signage, banners.
Okay, then let's go back to the schedule and continue on. Old business, access management plan. I need to make a statement on that. I talked with, we had asked Doug Riedel to talk with the county about that. Talked with Chris and I believe Rob, and they said that the county had looked at the access management plan, thought about putting one together, and was concerned because the developers were complaining about one size fits all kind of a plan, and that's what we need to be able to enforce it. And so the county didn't implement one, they didn't implement it by decision, not by default. Okay, so they decided not to do it because they felt like they could do a better job and work out better solutions by individually working with it. And so Doug brought up the problem that we're really struggling with, which was the issues on 3 Basement K. And so what they had suggested was that we have a meeting, because Sunbury had a new mayor. And what I volunteered to do was to meet with Chris, Doug, probably would take Jesse, and talk with the mayor about that.
Who's the new mayor?
No decisions, none of that sort of stuff, but at least get the conversation going about what our issues are and what our problems are.
now, are you saying Chris Balzerman's going with you?
Either Chris or Rob, one of the two, or which one would be.
Well, it'd be nice if both of them,
Ken would be great.
because then you have the power and then the one that's doing it.
And it would be best if it was either here or the county engineer's office.
Yes.
Probably want to do it at the county engineer's office, because that's nice and new and shiny, and they like to show it off. So, probably end up doing that. But we're trying to arrange something in the next 2 weeks.
Yes.
And I'll report back at the next meeting, and then we can,
I want to meet the new mayor too, though.
pardon?
I want to meet the new mayor as well. Because I think that we should have a conversation with the new mayor about annexation.
Okay.
Sooner than later.
So you want minutes?
No, she wants a meeting.
How
But that's a different
about you
meeting.
meet with the mayor first and you tell him I want to meet with him and I want to meet with him. I can come to his office.
With the mayor?
Yeah. Yeah, because they have a really interesting interpretation about some annexation laws.
Mhm.
And I want to make certain that he understands that cities can project annexations. And I'm not sure that Sunbury understands that.
How could they not understand that?
They think it's truly just the property owner's decision. I know. I just want to make certain we're all on the same page.
But what I don't, and I understand the county's position on this, because Thompson Township is very different from Genoa Township.
Sure.
So I can understand that, but Berlin is Berlin, and so if they're not coming with an access management plan, I want us to have a Berlin access
Yes, I agree with that.
Now, I would prefer the county do it so that we don't have to go through the enforcement process, which is a pain in the butt. But if they're not gonna do it, I want them to understand that we are requesting the county engineer come up with a plan for us, because we have to go through the county engineer to do it, and then we can adopt whatever, but it's kind of like, we have to initiate it.
And the meeting that I'm attempting to set up is roads and the issues associated with the road access plan. What I'll say is that there's some zoning issues that need to be taken care of, and that's a separate group of people.
Yeah,
It's
that's
it's
great.
not the county
That's fine.
engineers, regional planning and that group, I think.
Sound good?
And, establish that with the mayor so that he knows what's going on,
Good,
okay?
thank
So,
you.
I'll let you know in 2 weeks where we're at. That's about all I can do at this point.
That's great.
Okay, and with that, it turns into a minute to sell it. Let's take a 2-minute break here and let everybody get set up if they want to. and we'll go from there.
So are we recessed for 2 minutes?
Without objection, I will suggest that we take a 5-minute recess.
I'm happy to email you, I can clean this because I handwritten. If you prefer, I can email you the clean copies. You just let me know what's going on.
Okay, let's call the meeting back to order. And we have a time certain for 7 o'clock for BZC case 16-001, Evans Farms Amendment Number 2. Believe you wanted to talk about it, and hopefully we got some more information tonight.
Yes, thank you. Jim Lipnos from Rockford Homes, 999 Blair Parkway, Suite 200, Columbus, 43240. Okay, I'm back, and hopefully we can come to some resolution, because I did get some answers that you had asked the last time. Really quick, I do want to just recap the change that we're here to talk about. As we discussed at the last meeting, the main concern in the original revision was that there was not a connection over here to South Old State. And after meeting with the county, that connection is back, and therefore everybody in the Avalaya development is satisfied with those revisions. The other change was to move this entry just slightly from over here, was kind of shining some headlights in this address right here. So we moved that down just a little bit, and then we added this southern connection point mid-block here. So those are, in essence, the major changes between what is in the approved PVP versus what we originally proposed. So again, we are asking to go from this to that. This shows, about a mile less of roadway, 29 less lots, and an increased open space, but all the lots are in excess of 72 feet or larger. So the main concern that we had that left at the last meeting was, where are those 29 lots potentially going to go? I was non-committal. Evans got with the Evans Farms folks, and we were able to come up with a couple, or with a solution. So without further ado, I just want to introduce, I do have the Evans Farm people here, both Rick and Dan are here from Evans Farms, and Kevin is here from the engineer's office. My goal is to be able to answer every question that you have tonight and be able to get to a vote. So that being said, I wanted to enter into the record one for you. This is a portion of the Evans Farm preliminary development plan. And what you'll see, do you need a copy of this? No. Okay. I can give you one afterwards. What you'll see is in the other colored yellow. I just want to make sure everybody's looking at this string of lots right here. Those are what was added. Yes, the only 29 that are of different color. So those are on a single loaded road. So it makes sense, it makes it a little bit more economical, and they back up to open space and to the railroad track. So they're not encroaching any closer to any other lots. They impact the open space, but not overall negatively. Between the difference between the open space that we've gained on the Rockford site and what we've lost in that site, we are still net and over 2 acres of green space.
See that last part again, please?
Pardon?
Could you repeat that again?
So the difference between the open space that we increased at the Rockford parcel and then the open space that was deducted from the Evans Farm parcel, we are still an increase of over 2 acres of open space. So the same number of lots, increase of 2 acres of open space, just mainly due to configuration. That's it in a nutshell. I want to keep it brief and kind of just specifically to the comments that we had at the last meeting. So if there are any other comments, we can address those before or after we address the density shift.
Do you have any comments, questions?
Where are the mailboxes again?
Mailbox, once we get into the final engineering, we'll put it all in there. Right now, I mean, they're scheduled to be right here, but Delaware County, if they're coming out with CDU mailbox regulations, they don't want the whole development in one spot. So therefore, we have to kind of revisit what we're gonna do, and we'll obviously still have some here, but we'll put them in areas where they're not on a lot, where they're on open space, particularly close to, a path or close to an intersection so people can stop it.
And, sorry, could you make certain, if we added a couple parameters in that they, I'm sure it's would be in here too, but if we add a couple of things just to ensure, like, for example, that they're ADA accessible at all the various locations.
Yes, I believe that's all in their regulations, that's all in the regulations.
Yeah, but we just want to specify.
Sure, absolutely. Be happy to do so.
Did you have something?
Well, I wanted to ask Ron, is that your understanding what the engineer doesn't want them all in one place?
I don't know what they will, really don't. I've seen developments where they're all in one place,
Mhm.
and they're big places, and they're set up with parking spaces and handicap
Well, see-
access and all that sort of stuff. What that means is that you gotta develop, if you put it several places around there, you gotta put in parking spaces, you gotta put in handicap access, you gotta probably look at where coverage, how people walk and get there, that sort of thing.
If Delaware County allowed it, we would prefer to have them all in one space. But last, Kevin and I met with them, they're not published yet because they're not adopted, but he gave us a draft copy of them, and that was one of the regulations. Not that they're all not in the same spot, but it was a cap at how many mailboxes at each location.
So I don't think he can regulate that, only if it's up against a public road can regulate that.
Which, I mean, they are.
Well, that's not what we want. We want what we've had in our past CBUs, is that there has to be a pull-off that is in the homeowners association area, not public. They shouldn't be up against a road because you've got people like, and we're dealing with this all over here, handicapped people, wheelchairs cannot get to them. So they need to be able to pull off van accessible.
Yeah, that's okay. We can do that. When we get to final development plan,
No, we don't see final development. We're gonna see that here.
okay, well,
Well, we just want a
I
commitment to
can
that.
commit to it.
Yeah.
I can commit
You
to
can
it.
commit.
Okay, well, good. They'll make life easy.
The concerns that we've got is the handicap accessibility. If somebody's in a wheelchair, they're drive up in their car, they need to be able to get out of their car safely and be able to get their mail and get back in the car. And so I'm assuming that you're taking that into account in the way you're putting the plan in. So that someone can drive up and have a handicap accessible space there. And there should probably be 2 for each one of these because can't schedule. And there are people that end up in wheelchairs as you get older. Sometimes there's kids that end up in wheelchairs.
Yeah.
Everybody in between.
Clearly, it would be one of our concerns too, so I mean, we would address it.
And crutches and things like that. And it isn't always very nice weather out, really nice out there now. Sometimes we've got snow and sleet and rain and things like that. So that they've got to be able to contend with that after the mailbox.
Yeah. So, I mean, the original idea was to have a parking area.
Yeah.
And all the mailboxes. So we would move forward with that pending Delaware County's approval. But if they have regulations then that we need to modify, then we'll modify. But we'll commit to the ADA accessibility
Well,
and parking.
again, as long as it's not up against a road, I don't think they have really a say with it.
Okay, well, we can determine that.
Because, I mean, and this is more trustee board's expertise, but we've been pretty precise in the language with other developments and, what, I'm not asking for anything that we haven't asked from everybody else. But what I'm saying, where he pointed, is not going to meet the requirements that we've laid out to other developers.
I think the difference would be here that Delaware County is saying that they can't do a plan that would comply in the way that we would want it to. That's a big difference, because we didn't have that same obstacle when we made the language for the others.
But if they do what we require the others to do, the county engineer would have no say over it because it's not off on the road. It's in the homeowners association area. And that was one of the things that the homeowners association had to take care of, that paved area, the
Correct.
sidewalk, and then they.
For Pyatt? For the Pyatt Road one?
Homeowners Association is,
For the Pyatt Road one?
right,
And then we also had that, because in the past, people have been, an example, across the road, they're tilted, and that's not okay.
So Plum.
Yeah, they will be installed.
No, they've got to be maintained that, because
The
what they,
homeowners association will maintain them, yes.
because what is happening is that they're poorly constructed, and then they tilt afterwards. And I think we're gonna have a problem over here with Berlin Farms, because if you look at that, they're tilted, and they are requiring, so they're gonna have to dig those out and put them up again.
it's the ground settles underneath, we do it all the time, it's so, yeah.
But they put a lot of concrete in there, and they didn't put them
Well,
straight.
they committed.
I know. So they'll like hearing from our. zoning
I'm
inspector.
not familiar with the current cut of the county engineers on that. I'll get with Doug, I'll get with Chris and find out what the world's going on with the accessibility of the mailboxes. And I know that they've been concerned about the homeowners association having to take care of big spaces because it costs all the homeowners to take care of that in the future.
But they know that when they buy it.
But if you got a whole bunch of small ones, they still gotta spend the money to take care of it. And we don't plow the snow off the street. So the homeowners association is responsible for that. They're responsible for the ice, they're responsible for all of that sort of stuff. So just so that everybody understands, you know, we're responsible for the street. And we'll plow the snow in the street, but we may not plow it out of the sidewalk. We may cover the sidewalk up.
We
Homeowners
understand.
association's gotta take care of it, just like the homeowners.
Yes, understood.
But it needs to be memorialized.
We can add it as a condition, that's fine.
Sure. And I understand you're doing what the county engineer's saying, and we're not exactly happy with what that is, or at least our interpretation. Okay, any other questions?
Well, back to this. So, this is nice, but do you have authority to make this commitment?
I have Evans Farm,
Okay,
right here, so
so-
you then do a test.
So we'll have to, we'll say, what exhibit would this be? Okay. So, move to accept the map with the additional, 29 homes, just have a number on it. For Evans Farms from, Kimley Horn as exhibit 12. Do you have a second?
Second.
So we're okay, need a vote? Yeah. Got a motion and a second. Call the roll, please.
Bullard,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Brown,
Yes.
So I'm assuming the pedestrian bridge is going to connect with this road that's called Street HKK. But that's not your development.
Yeah, I don't know what you're referring to.
But this, the placement of these homes still allows that to happen.
What is this development called then?
This
No,
development
yours.
or
Yours.
our section?
Yeah.
Right now, it's Evans Farm Parcel B. We don't have a marketing name for it.
Shall be relocated.
And I understand they're going with what the county standards are for the mailbox. We may not like that. So that,
I'm not,
I understand.
okay, no, here's why I'm not okay with that. Because county standards are gonna be based on if it's on the street.
Mhm.
But if we don't approve, if we are not in agreement with that, then we need what we've required everybody else to do. And that's really what I want anyway, because the county's gonna say, oh, you can do it if you do this, and this. But we're not
Well,
wanting this,
I
and
kind of
this.
agree with Ron on this. I think that if the county is changing the standards, then it's unfair to hold somebody accountable to a different standard that the county has now changed on us.
But they haven't changed.
I think
They're
we can-
considering.
But I think we can still maintain everything in terms of the spirit of what we identified and established and have been consistent with, and have that in our language without knowing the exact location, because that needs to be worked out with county.
Okay, so I'm in agreement with most of that.
Okay.
It depends on how you lay this out as to whether I'm in total agreement. Because if it's off the street, the homeowners required to maintain it.
But we don't, I mean, we have no clue if, you know, if they have it their way, there'll be a parking lot.
The homeowners association is going to take care of the walk, as far as shoveling and salting. I mean, nobody's plowing or shoveling our sidewalks, ADA ramps, or mailbox paths. That's on.
But here's what happens is that, and just in general, people don't like that we plow the snow in front of their mailboxes, but that's what's gonna happen. So it needs to be far enough off that they're not irritated with us about the snow that they can't get to their mailboxes.
I mean, understood, we will have a clear path. It's no different than when they were at the end of every driveway and in the snow plow came down the street and pushed snow up along the curb. It's very similar.
Well, except for the difference is that if you're handicapped, you go down your driveway to your mailbox. Here, you're not going down your property to the
If you
mailbox.
have the language, could I see it?
Yeah, let me try to find it.
Is the essence ADA and accessibility?
And that the homeowners association takes care of it, and it's pulled off so that they don't have to cross the street to get to so.
Okay, well, it depends which way you're going on the street, but
Well, see, that's the problem is that oftentimes, well, the fire hydrant's causing a problem, so we're not gonna do it. No.
well, you can get your mail coming or going, so it's impossible for me to say that somebody's not going to cross the street.
Berlin Farm,
Do what?
the meeting minutes from Berlin Farm
It'd be Berlin Farms West.
West.
When was that done?
Good, we're
I can commit to the request, unless Delaware County dictates that I'm not.
I'm fine with that. I'm fine with that.
But here's why I'm not.
I know why you're not,
Okay,
and I'm
but
still okay with
listen.
it.
Okay, and so you may get a split vote on it.
Yeah.
So, but here's the issue is that the county can say, well, if you do this, well, it's because of the number of driveways or something like that. And if you move them, you could do it in the way that we want.
And what my concern is, if we deviate from the county standard, then suddenly it becomes Berlin Township standard.
Okay, so I understand what you're saying.
I don't want to own future changes to this because we deviated from what the county said they needed to do. That's the part that I'm
Okay,
I'm
so
concerned. I'm not-
I understand
And
that.
I agree with what you want to do. What you want to do is right. No problem.
Yeah, because I'm actually taking your arguments.
But you've got it right. I agree completely with what we want to do. But I'm real hesitant to deviate from what the county says because the county dictates it, the county owns it.
So-
If the county took some trade-offs, the county owns it.
So here's the thought that I thought was happening, was that you were working with the county for them to do, as they were developing this. And if they're going out and you don't have
I
any say on it.
don't know right now. The last time I had contact on was probably 3 or 4 months ago. I will have contact within 2 weeks. I'll give you a report on it next meeting. And what our real concern is we don't want to own the changes. The changes will belong to the homeowners association. So if they have to widen the street, so be it. I don't want it to be something where the township has to do that sort of stuff. That's the thing that I'm not happy with.
So I understand what you're saying, but what if it takes the county 6 months to come up with these changes? What are they supposed to comply with?
So right now, if they don't have a public standard, I can theoretically do any standard that I want. If there is no public standard, I can do exactly what you want.
Okay,
Which is exactly what we want.
there you go. So that makes a little sense to me.
Yeah.
Because I know the county, well, any government takes twice as long as it should.
That's a,
But they send me a draft copy, so they're closer than you might think.
Yeah.
Well, except for I mean, like tonight, we're supposed to do something for county. They're not here. It won't get done. And then the attorney will want to change it and because he already sent me an email for a change. I thought we'd get it done and be done. So it's gonna have to go back to the attorney again.
and I love the community mailboxes and all that sort of stuff, don't get me wrong. They don't get damaged with snow plows and snow flying off and doing all those kind of things. They're a real plus. It's just that we want to make sure that from age, handicap accessibility, that's covered.
Yeah.
I'm not sure the county's really concentrating.
I believe it was included, but I don't have it in front of me. The problem was when the CBUs were mandated by the post office, the reaction time by the builders and developers was nil. So they were in subdivisions that had to be retroactively done. So that's why you see them in side yards and different.
And they're unsafe. They're just totally unsafe.
They weren't designed and planned for. They came
so
in
they're
after
unsafe.
the fact. So,
It's not your fault, but
Yeah.
I'm just saying they're unsafe.
but now we understand that we have to do them and we design around them. So we do.
And we're a little hesitant on it because we have experience on the handicap accessibility. And one of the laws is that it's a court decision, federal court decision, that you can't pave the street unless the sidewalks are the way they're supposed to be. And so the sidewalks have to be redone. We've got several subdivisions that were built before
That don't meet those standards.
before the standards got changed. Now, the law didn't change, but the standards needed to be changed. Standards says now that you gotta go and do certain things at the intersections. So we're gotta go back and spend serious amounts of money to fix the corner intersections where the sidewalks were put in incorrect. By serious money, I mean like $1 million or something, layout now. And we just did Pyatt Meadows, and Pyatt Meadows was $75,000 to fix a bunch of those. And and that was even with getting a grant on top of that. So that's where it's not because we don't like the plan or any of that sort of stuff. It's just what we're trying to do is minimize the risks to the residents.
Well, regardless of the standards, they will be ADA accessible. Whether you want it, county wants it or not, we want it. So
I'll have a better understanding in 2 weeks, and I'll tell you what it is. Okay, anything else?
Well, I mean, I'm kind of jumping around,
Sure.
but some of the other things that we've asked other builders to do is to make, well, you committed to color scheme change, but you didn't actually say what that was, so we need that.
you asked for natural tone. You said no, when you said no high chromatic colors, I think it was the language you used.
That doesn't sound like me. I said that I wanted
High contrast, maybe
more normal.
more
So,
normal.
yes, so your earth tones, I don't really know the language.
Traditional color scheme. I can commit to that.
That doesn't say anything though. How's the zoning inspector say that's traditional versus that's not traditional?
Does house color scheme actually fall into the preliminary development plan?
Well, it does because you brought it in, Evans Farm brought it in the first, and since this was in the first, it is covered. If they had not brought it in the first, it would not be.
Okay. So the Evans Farm Architectural Review Board does still control the architecture in here. So whatever their documents are, we have to adhere to. I don't know exactly what they are, but Dan, Rick might be able to address what that color scheme is. If you wanted narrowed from that, I'd be happy to do that. We just need to come up with the right language. You know, we don't have paint or siding in our design center.
No, but if you flipped it, you could.
But, and I refrain from saying earth tone because I don't know that white is an earth tone. You're talking about just grays and beige.
Could we say something like, color scheme from Evans, from original proposal shall be maintained?
No, that's what I don't want.
You don't want that original?
Because in the original, it's every stinking color in the,
Why did you agree with them?
well, because it was supposed to be unique and there was a reasoning behind it, but this is not what was originally presented, and so it needs to go back to a more traditional color, but it needs to be defined so that the zoning inspector can say yes or no, not.
Do you have that available, that color scheme?
I could provide it, but not at this time. I mean, tomorrow I could.
You can't tonight?
I don't know where I would get it from tonight. But you're asking like right now?
Yeah. Because we could go through and we could cross off the colors or circle the colors, and then you could have
So are you talking from the original Evans Farm architecture standards?
whatever standard you say that you guys are gonna abide by for the colors.
I do not, I don't have access to that right now.
Could you get access to it?
I can try.
Because we can always recess or go on with the meeting while you're doing that and things like that. But another thing that has come up in the past is so that they're not.
If you have the zoning text for Howard Farm across the street,
For Howard?
yeah, I mean, I did that when I was with Homewood. I can commit to that color scheme, whatever language we
Were
use.
you okay with the Howard color scheme?
I don't remember what.
Assuming it doesn't conflict with it.
Yeah.
It satisfies both the Evans Farms and,
Right.
yeah.
I don't remember what theirs were.
I don't think I have that. I don't remember.
So one of the things we don't want is the same house ever down the road.
We have a house matrix as well. We can commit to that.
So what is that matrix?
It's one house on either side and 3 across the street.
That's right.
That's what I did.
I've been there before.
Okay, so that's good. But
Same.
we need it in writing. Can you add that to the list?
You can add it. I don't know how to say it.
So you called that the,
Big diversification standard.
Yeah. Diversification. Housing diversification.
but you're gonna put that in wording that you want us to. What you said, you're gonna put it in writing of all these things that you're committed to.
Yeah, so you asked, I can follow back up with a memo memorializing conditions. Is that what you're asking?
Before we vote on it.
I did find Howard Farms.
I haven't. Oh, I have.
Yeah.
I'm in Farmville, but there's so much here to read that I can't find parking.
Well, look up mailbox.
I
Or
looked up
CBUs.
mailbox.
So there's not gonna be mailboxes
I
in
looked
that
up
one because there were,
CBUs.
when we got that
Nothing
zone,
came
you
up.
could use.
Oh, no, we're talking about Berlin Farms.
Oh, I'm sorry.
I Googled, I put in mailboxes, nothing comes up. CPUs, nothing.
CBUs.
CPUs.
Okay, right now I got 2 things, mailboxes and color.
Oh, I got
She's got 7.
Did you see 7?
Yeah,
You better than I am.
So,
all kind of similar.
okay, so, there's green spaces here, but how many ponds are there?
Ponds are 1, 2, 3 ponds. Yes, 3 ponds.
Okay, so, one of the things that we have asked in the past is that if the area of the ponds increases, that's a major divergence.
Okay,
But it's like, we had some percentage.
I don't recall
you're
percentage.
talking about when they get into final engineering and stormwater caps change.
Because like that green space,
It's not,
no longer green space and,
So it impacts the open space.
Yeah.
seeing as we're in excess of the minimum required, does that make a difference?
It doesn't mean you can't have it, it just means it's a major
Okay,
divergence.
you know if they were preliminary size.
I sent that to you.
The basins that are shown on here are larger than
That's
what
what you.
you think you're gonna need. So I think we're showing more space for stormwater than what we'll have.
So you'll commit to that.
Yes.
And that, as you know, I don't know if you, almost every meeting I bring this up, Oldfield. It was supposed to be a beautiful pavilion and all that, and it turned into a pond.
Where are you referencing?
Oldfield Estates.
Oh, so not this project.
No, but my point is, that's why we memorialize this all the time.
That was from Berlin Farm.
Mhm.
So Berlin Farm, it's a cluster mailbox unit shall be located in the major open space areas in 2 to 3 locations in the community so that all residents are not required to go to a single location to retrieve their mail, and parking shall be available at each location. Access to all CBUs shall be constructed in compliance with ADA accessibility. All CBUs shall be maintained by the HOA.
So I would agree to that language if you struck out the sentence that said that they will be in 2 to 3 different locations.
That's fine.
Because our preference would be in a single location.
Ours too, quite frankly.
Yeah, but we'll see if the council would have any restriction on that. So I would agree to that if you take out that one sentence. Sure.
So are you putting CBU down here?
You're not home anymore, are you?
No, not at home. Jay Licknell's at Rockford Multi-Stop.
Got an email for you.
Okay. Anything else? Mike, anything? I got a couple comments or things. The homeowners association, I still don't quite understand how this homeowners association is gonna tie in with the Evans Farms homeowners association.
So we are technically our own association that belongs to the Evans Farm Master Association. So we will be, whatever we decide to name this, say it's, I can't think of the name off the top of my head, but Stockdale. It would be the Stockdale Farms Homeowners Association, and we would be members of the Evans Farm Master Association. So we would be paying. Do you know, is it structured as the association collects the money and pays Evans Farm, or do we pay, would our residents pay 2 separate bills?
Currently structured under one master association.
Okay.
So it's something to come to the farm master association and all green space, whatever that being maintained.
Okay. So we would be a sub-association, and that association then would be pay their dues to the master association. So it would collect the dues on behalf of the homeowners. That way the homeowners didn't have to pay 2 dues.
So what's the split of responsibilities?
So our homeowners association would be to take care of everything within our borders. Okay, and then outside of that, we would pay a fee to the master association, which handles the overall open space entrances, whatever else is in their budget. They would have a budget put together and indicate to every homeowner what their dues would be. We would just add that into our association, collect that on our behalf, and at the end of the year, take it, send it, or beginning of the year, take it and send it off to the Evans Farm Master.
So everybody there is gonna be a member of and pay two different association fees?
Yes, but the way I would structure it is, you know, if say the homeowners association fee for our subdivision was $500, and then the Evans Farm was $100, and I'm using those arbitrarily, those are not the numbers. Then we would bill, our association would bill each homeowner $600. We would collect that $600, keep $500 in our association for our budget, and then forward the $100 up to the master association. And say that homeowner didn't pay, one of the homeowners didn't pay, we're short that money, our association has to cover that money, the master association, until we make the collections. And I'm pretty good at getting collections.
Yeah, but when you're gone,
Well, the board would be in charge of that, because we're only in charge of it for so long. There's rules and regulations, and we've got management structure. You know, we have a process. You're 30 days late, you get a do better letter. You know, you're 60 days late, you get a fine. You're 90 days late, we file.
okay. And so the way we generally have it structured, and so it would be just this, your association would be turned over to the homeowners at 85%.
85%.
Now, what about the master one, or what time is that turned over to all the residents?
That would be up to whatever you guys agree to with theirs. I don't know if you put that regulation into theirs or not, but that's actually out of my control, so. But we would turn ours over for your request at 85%.
I don't remember them being split at the original, do you?
We don't have say over the homeowners association.
No, but we always request at what point is it turned over?
Yeah, and normally it's at about, in a development like this, it's gonna be about 80%, something where it should be turned over to the residents. It's close enough to the full that you guys got control of it most of the time, but it's also far enough from being complete that you don't keep 3 or 4 lots and keep the homeowner association forever.
Right, yeah, no, I understand that.
So what we would like to see is some percentage where it gets turned over. Now, my question though, about the two, the working relationship with the two, you got some ponds in there. Which homeowners association is responsible for the ponds?
Our homeowners association.
Okay, and then the Evans Farms Homeowner Association has nothing to do with it. None, so there's a division of responsibility somewhere here that I don't quite understand.
Everything within our borders will be part of our homeowners association. The Evans Farm Master Association takes care of all their overall common area improvements that are not subject to individual neighborhoods. So I don't know what those all entail. If there's walking trails that go between community to community, that would be one instance that those things could be in there.
Kind of what I'm getting at is one of the things that's in the Evans development is there's alleys. And the alleys are private. They're not owned by they're not public roads, they're not public highways. They're going to be maintained by the homeowner association. The homeowner association is responsible to take care of that. This group, I don't see any alleys in here, so you wouldn't be paying into the master homeowners association for the alleys that are going on over in the city. Is that correct?
I certainly hope not. Can you confirm that?
So that's the thing I'm trying to understand.
Our association already differentiates between those that have alleys and those that don't even have the farm proper right now. So we are, so no, they would never pay any fees for that.
And all I'm trying to do is just understand that. I don't want to see these people get put on the hook for something that's going on over here that they have no control over, no look at, never see it, and be paid for. That's the part I'm trying to
You're
do.
right, we're looking at new parks, we're looking at walkways and different things that, connecting to the areas of communities, really, everybody in the neighborhood, the entire neighborhood's into the.
Okay. So would be with the local homeowners association in those areas, or would that be the master homeowners association for those areas? And people in that area would pay more than people in the other area, or how's that gonna work? Am I,
Say it in the same
you
context.
understand what I'm asking you?
Rock, so their property proper is where they're gonna maintain. There's wooded spaces and open spaces we'd be able to manage,
Sure.
pass through or do certain things, those common areas out in the entire development, what everyone's gonna pay
Mhm.
as a whole.
As much space as you've got there, I could see the homeowners association have full-time employees, and people maintain stuff and doing those kind of things. Now, it's gonna be a pretty large deal, but this group may not use them very much, and I hate to see them pay as much as another group that's using them all
No, I think the final number will be, the final number we do, and like I said, that's not set in stone, that number you gave. It's gonna be the same number we do throughout the entire neighborhood. And certainly a lot less than, in other words, where we are right now, developing through that space in Orange Township, so to speak, but everybody will be associated with it with some small fee for us.
the time. Okay.
You say okay, but that's not really defined as to what he just said.
I know, haven't gotten there yet.
Okay.
And the other part of it is the Master Evans Farms Homeowners Association. When will that be turned over to the residents?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, it is, you were asking numbers and then I don't know if you know.
Yeah, no, we've always said this with you guys, it's such
Sure.
a big operation that you don't put a number in. We've always said 75%, and 75% is probably not enough. We probably need to keep it under the control.
Mhm.
The master needs to keep it under the control probably until we're all comfortable that it's set in stone and all these different areas are being developed or developed. So I can't see us turning it over to, maybe 85%, maybe 90.
For the Master Association?
Yeah.
So that's not gonna happen for a number of
Long,
years
long
after this.
time. And what we're talking about is with these sub-associations, like Bob Levy has, like inside Evans Farm right now, he's little 18 lots and he has a sub-association. But there'll be a budget item for maintaining the parks and the trailways that connect all these, and they will pay, it might be $50, $100 a year, whatever it plays out to, towards the master that will maintain this.
And I understand that, and, there won't be portions of the Master Association turned over until it's one turnover to everybody.
Right.
But there should be individual homeowners association for, let's call this a sublot, but this part of it, and assuming other parts that would have theirs that they would take care of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, you said okay, but what I'm thinking I'm hearing is that it's okay that it's gonna be years before it's turned over, but I'm not okay with not having a number. So if it's 85%, and it takes 30 years to get there, well, it takes 30 years to get there, but we know there's a defined number.
Right.
So whether it's 80% or 85, that's kind of where you
But I
go.
thought that was covered in the master plan for the Evans Farms plan, this number that we had.
That's what I thought too,
Yeah.
but they're saying no.
Well, it's the master covenants and restrictions read right now, 75%, but we all, and this group talked about it a long time ago, when we have the right to amend those, and I'm not so sure that, in my history, that it makes sense in the development of this, that you would want to turn over to the master that controls everything, because then you get people going, okay, let's just, so we don't like that without all the reserves and all the.
Well, you got both sides of the railroad tracks. And
Yeah.
One side might be all done, and the other side just starting,
So I'd say,
I don't know how you're gonna do it all.
You could say 85%, but then we all may look at each other in 10 years and say, well, it's at 85%, but we don't want you to turn it over yet.
Well, what you could do then is come back and do a change.
Sure.
So if it's 75 and we're saying 80 or 85%, we're not
Right.
we're encroaching on what your perceived plan is, but we need a defined number. And trustee Bullard, I
And that's,
defer to you.
that's
I like it where
what this subset right now. And from the overall, we need to make sure we're okay on. And the side comment that I've got on this thing is, this is a plan for this part of Evans Farms. The overall plan really should have been submitted as, this should have been, just a relook at the overall plan. And this part, sure, it's phase one, or phase, whatever number you want to call it, or name, or anything. But you do this part, because people made comments like, oh, this is really good, because more green space, got rid of these houses, all that sort of thing. Well, you didn't, you just moved it over, moved the houses over to another part, and took the green space and put it back over here. So the things, it didn't change from the standpoint of the overall Evans Farms development plan, but what it did is it moved it to another area. People looked at it and said, hey, this is great. You know, but if they were looking at it in terms of the overall plan, you have a different view. And that's the part that is a little, makes us ask a lot more questions. Okay.
Well, and that's why because you don't want to take away a problem over here only to move it.
That's right.
And that's why I appreciate you taking the time to work and kind of define where those 29 homes would go, because the last thing that we would want is to think that we're doing the residents a favor over here only to make it harder for the residents over there. And so the elegance, I think, of this solution is that the additional, or the shift in the density to add more density to another location is absorbed by having the railroad tracks there and not having any existing homes, and not disrupting the overall plan and layout as our current existing residents understood it to be, And that's why I think that in combination with our language here and buttoning up a few things, it makes a lot of sense to me.
That's why we're trying to do what we're doing. It's not something against this, but it's just we got to understand the overall plan. That's where we're headed. And don't take it personal, because this is partly the overall plan.
Understood.
But anyway.
Yeah. Okay,
So
so
this one turns over to 85%. You want to turn the other
did you
one,
specify that?
the number would be 85% for the overall plan. Then moving to 29
Oh, but you
homes to
didn't put it
the
in writing.
other side.
It was at the last meeting.
Green space.
You can add what number we have to.
I consolidated everything
Okay.
for you, so.
I'll stop.
While she's doing that, are those fountains in the ponds?
Yes.
Okay, and can you tell me what they look like?
At this time, no, I haven't taken them out yet. So when I work with the pond guy, he'll tell me how many fountains I need in the pond. And then depending on how deep the ponds are, depends on whether I get one. Well, we don't typically get ones that shoot straight up in the air for a high distance, because wind catches them on a windy day, and you get water flows all over, whoever's next to the pond. So they're usually, I forget what they call it, waterfall ones, where they kind of just go up and spring up.
So that's what is all around here.
Yes.
But we need it defined a little bit, so it's not a bubble.
It's not a bubbler, it's a fountain.
Yeah, so what people have done in the past is compared it, and in fact, not Evans Farm, but where the school is. And that school is supposed to have a fountain, and I hope they put that fountain in like they have to, because it's in the plan. It was compared to the height of what Oldfields used to be.
Okay, not familiar with all of that, but each pond will have a fountain, not a bubbler. May have more than one fountain depending on the size.
Yeah, but I want it defined so that we know that it's a fountain and not.
What did we say before?
Well, we said the same height of what Oldfield is, that's how it's worded. I don't know that that's great wording. One of the other
I could say that it will project water into the air. How's that?
There was one, it might have been Rome Farms West, they had a specific number.
Yeah,
Was
I
it
thought that we did do a number.
You know, but it wasn't the property that was across from the field.
And it won't be installed until the development's pretty well done.
Yeah, we typically install, I mean, we like to have them installed, but obviously if I install, you know, an $8,000 fountain, during construction, it gets all silted up and I burn out the motors.
Yeah, well,
That's not fun.
that's not our goal, you know.
Right. So, but yes, we will install fountains and they're installed for approximately 8 months out of the year. They come out for
You know,
Did we have a minimum or a maximum on the height?
minimum.
Yeah, didn't we say something like shall?
10 feet.
Yeah, I thought it was 10 feet.
I'm good with that.
You can do that?
Let's put it's a minimum, and if it looks better, bigger, you can do it, and if not. And then, of course, you have the natural stone inlets and outlets in the pond.
I do know that is something that you like, so yes.
You give it to me because I like it.
Yes, of course.
Can I clarify? You say natural stone and you use.
Or facade? A natural stone facade? Or facade?
Or a synthetic stone that looks natural.
But it's everything that's inlet and outlet.
To the ponds. Head walls and end walls. Head walls and end walls.
Everything that's inlet and outlet. Some people have gotten tricky in. So it's everything that's inlet or outlet.
All right.
Wouldn't do that to you.
Are we good?
No, because you give me what I like, huh?
Right.
Are we good? Do you have anything else to add?
Well, if we keep talking, I'll think of something.
Okay, well, do you have anything that strikes you right now? No. Okay, so we got clustered mailboxes shall have parking available at any location, required. Right, it's around there, one or two.
Mhm.
Access to all CBUs shall be constructed in compliance with ADA accessibility standards. All CBUs shall be maintained by HOA and the club. Number one.
Okay, and it's off the road, right?
We don't have that in any of our language that says off the road.
I thought Rome Farms West did.
No, I just read exactly what we have from Berlin Northwest.
Then they got tricky in their wording.
But it says maintained by the HOA. Oh, because we broke that down at that time.
Because they're totally pulled off. I mean, that's like a building that has theirs, right?
Well, we say have parking available at any location required.
Handicap accessible parking.
And shall be in compliance with ADA accessibility standards. And shall be maintained by the HOA and the club. A little funky.
Maintained at home. Not just installed home.
Shall be maintained by the HOA and club. Was our language?
Is that fair that it's maintained at home?
To and maintain. Alright, number 2. You'll need to play with this one.
And then we'll revise it after you come up with
The
it.
29 homes reduced from Evans Farms Parcel B shall be relocated according to Exhibit 12 or shall be removed from the final development plan. The 29 lots cannot be relocated to any other location other than proposed in Exhibit 12.
And you're gonna sign on this, they're gonna sign on that part as well. Yeah.
For colors, this is from Howard's Farms. I don't love it, but it's about the same here. Exterior colors of excessively high chroma or intensity shall not be permitted. No more than 2 colors in addition to the color of brick or stone / synthetic stone may be used on the building as a whole.
Okay.
Number 4 was the housing diversity. What did you say that was?
The house on either side of the subject lot and 3 across the street.
Refresh my memory. All these are front loaded.
They're all front loaded.
And are any of them snow?
When you say snout, there's some of our house plans have the garages stick out about 2 feet to 4 feet. But typically you think of a snout as like anything 8 feet above, and I don't believe we have anything like that.
So what, you're committing to 4 feet, no more than, is that what I heard?
Oh, no, I wasn't committing to anything. I was telling you what we have in our lineup.
Well, if you commit to that, that will be more.
And I do appreciate that. However, I am 4 months at Rockford Home and I'm not familiar with all our floor plans at this time. Does Evans Farm have a snout garage standard that we have to adhere to?
We don't allow snout houses, and that's, the garage can't be in front of a porch.
Yeah, that's really what we have.
Okay, so I don't have to commit to that because that's an Evans Farm standard.
Well, but they could change their standards, so let's.
Not without coming back here. You got all kinds of cracks at it.
Well, it sounds like you're already okay with it, so there's no reason not to commit to it.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so housing diversity, 1 on either side of subject lot and 3 across street shall be different.
Yes,
You can refine the language
Okay.
further.
because it can be the same house at different elevation.
Okay.
Because we have a farmhouse style, we have a.
Yeah, so just specify it like that. Okay. Increase of the area of water for ponds shall be a major diversions.
Yes,
Turnover to the HOA, turnover of HOA at 85%.
agreed.
And that's both the local and the master.
We can't do the master here.
They can.
This is.
They don't even have an application in, so.
Yeah, they don't have the application. We can't do that. That would be an inappropriate request in my view.
Even
Because
though
they're at
commit to-
75 right now.
Well, it's a minimum of 85.
No, we're not dealing with them. We're dealing with,
So are you saying that we'll never deal with them?
no, they'll have to come back.
They're currently, you said, at 75%, so if they want to change it, they need to come see you.
Yeah, if they want to change.
So
it,
if each piece comes in, it's never addressed.
It has to be turned over at 75% overall.
Right now, it has to be turned over.
It doesn't have to be, they can change it.
Yeah, why don't you guys let them do that? They can change it.
I wasn't on the board then.
Some finicky things that are cropping up here, and we're dealing with the problems.
Okay, but what's the answer to that question?
I don't think that there's any reason, 1, I don't think I can ask him to make them do that necessarily.
Okay,
And 2, that's not even part of the application or consideration.
okay, so let's say that's true.
And 3, I don't even know that I want them to turn it over at 85%. I kind of want them to have to turn it over at 75% right now for overall. But I'm okay with them for.
But the thing is, they
85%.
can change it to 100% and then we have no say.
They can do that right now. Why would they?
Well, because they want them to buy this.
Which gets to the point that I've been trying to make, which is I don't want to see a plan like this again. I want to see a plan for Evans Farms. You can subdivide it any way you want to, but the whole plan stands together.
So if you're willing to stick with that, then I'm okay with not dealing with the owner's master at this time.
I don't ever want to see one of these again, because this is a separate application that's being treated, and was treated by the zoning commission as if it was an application on its own. It's not. Evans Farms is what we're looking at. You can call it whatever you want to, but it's a subdivision of the Evans Farms development plan.
Okay, so I'm me too.
Yeah.
Okay,
You know, I'm not, and that's fine, we got.
So we won't,
the
yeah,
homes where they're gonna go, and I don't care whether they end up there or not, but
I did,
we didn't leave them off.
yeah.
Okay, what we agreed to a long time ago was they can change the shape of the roads, they can do the things like that that are necessary to make the development work. But as far as the number of living units that we're talking about, it hasn't changed for Evans Farm. The amount of green space hasn't changed really. It's just gone from here to there. But this is it was put in front of us as if it was a separate development. And just consider this, don't worry about what's going on with Evans Farm. I'm not saying, no. It's gotta be the whole thing.
okay. So I'm okay with what you just said.
And,
There we go.
okay. Let's see.
It was too far down the pipe to be able to change it.
Well, and I'll tell the zoning inspector, don't bring these piecemeal components together.
Right,
We have to see it all, or we're not gonna be able to.
that's correct.
In this case, I do feel that they've satisfied the changes, and I think, like I said before, that this proposal is better than the previous one, and it takes into account existing residences and has a better transition to the more dense area of Evans Farm, so.
But it only looks better because it made that part look better.
Right, but then they had to address this
So
too.
behind the curtain over here, there's a change.
They're not, yeah, but they came back and they were transparent about where those houses were gonna go. And, but I do agree with you, moving forward, we can chat with the zoning inspector about this too, because it all came through and was approved as one thing. Yeah, so
Yes, now,
we'll get there.
well, but just for clarification. I totally agree with you, but it doesn't have to be the pay-off portion.
No. That's a different, really different development.
Which should never be included in this really, I don't think.
But.
But everything else that's not the pay-off.
But the takeoff part isn't being changed. Okay, it's not ag out, not taking out away, not like, nothing changes as far as that part of that.
Why the takeoff different and not just all of Evans Farms has to come back and they want to change?
Because really, if you look at it, they were two applications, they were just put in there so that they all had to pay one fee. I wouldn't have done that, but the way the zoning code was at the time, we had to allow that to happen. I don't think it can happen again.
Okay. All right.
But everything else that's not the pay-off, everything else,
Right.
okay.
7, formation of ponds shall be a minimum, or fountains of ponds shall be a minimum of 10 feet in height.
The spread, yes.
Yeah,
Not
spray.
fountain.
Yeah. Fountain spray, sorry. There you go. And that was number 7, and that's all.
One more.
We got the natural
Oh,
stone.
number 8,
Natural
natural
or synthetic
stone or synthetic stone facade for all inlets and outlets.
To the ponds.
2
Did you
ponds.
cover the HOA?
Yeah, 85%. That's, we just made it up. All right, so there's 8.
Okay, can I take a picture of that?
Good luck, yeah.
Or
Good luck.
have a copy made of some sort?
Yeah, you can take a picture.
And then you want to take some time while we're going with the
And then
meeting
handwrite.
Oh, wait, I need to draft this tonight?
If you want to vote tonight.
Oh, yeah.
We could.
Oh, geez, okay.
If you can take care of it tonight, we could-
Well, yeah,
we could
we're,
take care of the whole thing.
yeah, we're gonna we'll change this tonight. Okay, let me write them up. Give me 5 minutes.
Oh, well, you can have a lot longer because we can.
We'll go back to the meeting. And we'll suspend this and come back. to
Hey,
you.
can we just use your language? Can we just use that?
Has to be written in your handwriting and signed by.
And at your request,
So, yeah, handwriting good.
Yes.
I looked right at me when you said that.
Oh.
Now, I'll loan you my
You go to
computer if you want to type it up.
You go to architecture and
And
engineering.
half of that is Ken's handwriting, you just can't tell the difference, really.
Um,
I think you have like.
Do you mind if I sit up?
we're at the table.
Yeah,
there's a table in the kitchen
Yeah.
area.
And
And
then,
do you wanna look at it?
We can mix that up with those card tables, we don't care.
Here, okay,
Mix that
so
one of those card tables.
one
It's
is
more
here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
Okay, at this point, I'm going to suspend this part of the hearing, and we'll pick it up again before the meeting ends. Let's go back to our agenda. Okay,
I don't have much more time than me left from, my ailment. So,
I can tell.
could we, because I know we have to do executive session. Could we maybe go through some of this stuff very quickly and then we'll see where we're at here? For example,
We got two things that I see that we need to do. Let me just share. Three things. I got one late item that I really want to
okay,
know. The Cheshire Road widening easement, we need to take care of that. And we need to do the representation of the BZA, BZC for pay rates. I mean, those things we should take care of. But you want to do the executive session now? Or do you want to pick
let's
these?
do the executive session.
Okay, let's do that. Because, I know how you feel.
So,
You need to be 3,
collective bargaining, and you also need hiring, firing, discipline.
and do we have an attorney that, I think I said G3 earlier.
I made a list, but
Okay.
it's just collective bargaining and employee. We don't need an attorney for.
Move to recess into executive session from regular session pursuant to ORC 121.22 G1 to consider the appointment, employment, dismissal, discipline, promotion, demotion, or compensation of a public employee, as well as G4 collective bargaining to be attended by, the, both fiscal officers, incoming and current, as well as the, board of trustees.
Second?
Call the roll, please.
Fuller,
Yes.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Rowe.
Alright.
I went through that, I think it was.
Jeff, come on back with us.
Couple months ago. I went through that a couple months ago.
Yeah, I've been,
Oh,
I tested negative for everything. Negative for COVID, negative and the work we're doing through the legislative committee
Okay.
myself, but if we want to pursue it.
I haven't read it, so I have no opinion.
Okay, do we have any other late items?
Yes, so, discussion, I was going to recommend the fiber, the road widening and all that, had the county engineer, provided a notary, but since they didn't, we'll hold off on that until the next meeting. So reread it and make sure you're comfortable. I am, but that doesn't mean I haven't missed anything, so feel free to comment because we've got time. The other thing is, the Easter egg hunt usually is advertised, noticed in the newsletter, and I'm not
Yeah.
sure where we are in the newsletter.
I have the newsletter as my late item as well. We have tons of things that we could do. Tray bell, Easter egg hunt, cell tower, jobs, park trail, zoning resolution. So do we need to mobilize this rather quickly?
I mean, you're going to have it like next.
Easter egg hunt.
That's my concern, because what is that, like? 20?
If we could commit to doing this by next Monday and having it all over to Kathy by the next Monday, we could get it out by the Easter egg hunt.
Okay.
Are you comfortable with that? Because you would have to do the chair letter,
Mhm.
and you'd probably have to write up the tree bell. And then I would have to write up the zoning resolution, parks, trails, jobs, cell tower. And then what would you,
Well, the Easter egg hunt, and
and then you would do Easter egg hunt, fire.
well, I could talk about the fiber.
Yeah. Okay, so to Kathy, no later than Monday next week,
Okay,
okay?
gotcha. And you're in charge of it?
And I'll be in
Okay.
charge of the fire.
Do we want to do anything about that?
Yeah, so we have, explicit banners being posted, on the corner of Pyatt and Cheshire in our township. We were reached out by a news outlet to comment. Would somebody like to represent the board, in responding to that news request?
I talked to the prosecutor about it, and basically, he said it was covered with free speech, and there isn't much we can do about it.
And I sent several emails to the prosecutor about it as well. And really, the only thing that we can do, and that's not gonna satisfy the news outlet, is that we can regulate size, safety. But you can't regulate what's written, because it's considered political speech. And so whether or not we find it offensive or not, it's protected, and
It's offensive, anything that goes up is offensive to some,
yes.
No,
And
that's okay.
this is.
But there is a civility that's not being addressed here, and I'm not saying that it's our job to address it, but it's really an unfortunate thing that I have to drive by with my child and have that sign up. I mean, it's uncivil and it's inappropriate, but it is free speech. And the sizing of the banner may be an issue, or the right of way may be an issue, but as far as we could tell, it looked like it was out of the right of way.
Yeah, I think it was, and I think for FR1, the size is actually not.
An issue either,
Not
or
an
not something that we could pursue.
Right. Now, that doesn't mean we can't, in the zoning resolution, consider that, but remember, it's for everybody. We're not regulating one person, we're
Right.
regulating the entire township. And everybody has to be careful what they ask for, because lots of people want my neighbor not to do something, but I can do it.
Mhm.
And so if we say, the size can only be such and such, well, they gotta live with that too.
that's right.
And so,
And homeowners associations, they can do some certain things, and we all hear about the cases, where the guy wants to fly a flag out in his front yard, and homeowner association says, no, you can't do that.
Right, but that's not us, but the other thing that we can probably regulate is that banners in different parts of our zoning code have to be attached at all four corners. Well, what that turns into is a sign. And people who find the banner inappropriate might find that even more inappropriate because it doesn't ever not show, because it becomes a big sign. And so you have to be careful what you ask for because you might get it. So that's why I didn't really want to respond to the news organization, because it's not going to satisfy anybody.
That's the thing, and that's why I called the prosecutor, because I want to make sure, and what he says is basically, they're doing stuff that you're not happy with, but you don't have the ability to do anything.
Right. And especially being a township, unless the state says that we can do it, we can't do it.
Right.
And even if we were a city, I don't think we could do anything about it, but.
You know, we can't regulate a gun being fired in a neighborhood, in a township.
Which is funny. Well,
These are some unfortunate realities that I think, I think an appeal to civility would be the right place to start, but unfortunately, our hands are tied as a township in terms of what we can and maybe even what we should do when it comes to preserving First Amendment rights, so.
Okay, we've discussed it, haven't decided. Did you want to try to pursue the civility thing, or?
Well, the thing about that is, if I did, it would be an appeal just as a resident to a resident. It would not be me acting on behalf of our board, right? So in that way, any resident could make an appeal to their fellow neighbor to say, our children see these signs and there's hundreds and hundreds of children that drive past us every day. So, if I decided to do that, it would be in my own capacity, just as a concerned resident, concerned citizen.
And as far as responding to the news media, they were asking for something today, and none of us have responded, so they're not getting anything today. So I don't know that we need to respond anymore to that.
Okay.
But if they told me, I'll think of something.
Okay.
Well,
they can refer to these meeting minutes too.
Okay, let's go. Did we get all the late items?
Yeah.
Future meetings, Thursday, we got the DCTA meeting at the Bixby campus. And for the township, I told them that I would talk about it, or we would do a tag team. They suggested we not do a tag team because it tends to go over. They want to keep it under 3 minutes. I can do something like that.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you volunteering for that.
The way you're feeling, you may not want.
I may not want to.
You may not want to even be there.
I hope I want the minutes.
So I'll plan on doing that Thursday night.
Great, thank you.
And I've got a morphine meeting Thursday morning, or Thursday afternoon, but that's okay. Anything else? Anyone? And you know about the meeting that I'm trying to set up with Sunbury?
Yeah.
Okay, and everything else on the agenda, I think, Cheshire Road.
We're not gonna take action on it.
Are we gonna find these things, or what are we gonna do?
Well, because we don't have a notary, no.
Okay.
And I was explicit with Tiffany Jenkins. If we did not have a notary, then we wouldn't take action on it.
So could we pass these?
I would not recommend that.
Okay, so we'll do it at the next meeting?
Yes.
Okay. Can you bring at the next meeting? Then we got a notary.
Oh, you're notary. Wonderful.
He's an attorney.
My commission has no expiration. Revised code 1.47 or something.
Mine expired. I think mine was 5 years.
Yeah, attorneys have, not expired.
Okay, we ready?
Holy crap.
Yeah.
We're at 43 homes
Yeah.
for the first 2 months.
Yeah.
We're at 71 total as of today.
That's a lot. Okay, I think it's time.
Move to adjourn.
Second. Call the roll, please.
O'Brien,
Yes.
Rail,
Yes.
Fuller.
Yes. Can you call those people? Next door neighbor's site.
I didn't see it.
Pardon?
I didn't see it.
This one?
No, the sign. Did it involve an F word? Oh dear. Really?